Since the beginning of human curiosity, one question has echoed louder than any other: are we alone? The search for life in our solar system is not just about looking for aliens or creatures hidden beneath alien skies. It's about trying to understand whether life itself is a universal pattern written into the design of the cosmos, or a rare spark that ignited only once, here on Earth. When we look up at the night sky, what we really see is a map of potential homes, worlds that might have once breathed or still do. The story begins with Mars, the red planet that has captivated scientists and dreamers for centuries. Once thought to be a barren desert world, Mars now appears as a planet that may have once flowed with rivers, lakes, and possibly even oceans. Ancient valleys cut deep into its surface tell stories of moving water, and minerals that form only in the presence of liquid hint that Mars might have supported microbial life billions of years ago. The rover Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, Perseverance each have rolled across this alien world, drilling into its rocks, scanning its soil, and sniffing its atmosphere for signs of something more than just dust. Perseverance, especially, carries instruments so advanced they can detect organic molecules and patterns that could only be produced by living systems. And if one day it finds that faint fossilized whisper of microbial life, humanity will have its greatest discovery since fire, the proof that life is not unique to Earth. But Mars is just one chapter in a much larger cosmic story. Beyond Mars lies Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, an icy world that hides an ocean deeper than all of Earth's combined beneath its frozen crust. Imagine a place where sunlight never reaches, but warmth comes from tidal forces, Jupiter's immense gravity stretching and heating Europa's interior, creating hydrothermal vents beneath the ice. On Earth, such vents at the bottom of our oceans teem with life bacteria, tube worms, and strange creatures that thrive without sunlight, feeding off chemical energy alone. If life could arise there, in our oceans, why not beneath Europa's ice? NASA's upcoming Europa Clipper mission is designed to fly through the moon's plumes jets of water vapor shooting into space from cracks in the ice and analyze them for organic molecules. If even a single biomarker is detected, it could rewrite everything we know about biology. But Europa is not alone in its promise. Enceladus, one of Saturn's moons, shines with equal mystery. This tiny world, covered in ice, also ejects geysers of water from its south pole. The Cassini spacecraft, before its grand dive into Saturn, flew through these plumes and found water, organic compounds, and even molecular hydrogen, all key ingredients for life. That discovery alone proved that habitable environments are not rare. They may exist in places we once thought impossible. The idea that moons orbiting gas giants could be alive beneath their icy shells changes our definition of what a world even is. It suggests that life might prefer hidden places, shielded from radiation and time, thriving silently in the dark. Beyond Enceladus, another icy world awaits Titan, Saturn's largest moon, a world with methane lakes and rivers, an atmosphere thicker than Earth's, and complex organic chemistry raining from its skies. Titan is strange. It's far too cold for liquid water, yet its methane-based environment could support a kind of life entirely different from our own. Here, evolution might have written a different recipe on where methane takes the place of water, and alien biochemistry thrives in a world that smells of hydrocarbons. NASA's Dragonfly mission, a drone designed to fly from place to place across Titan's surface, will explore these chemical mysteries firsthand, and it could be the first mission to discover truly exotic forms of life as we've never imagined it. Then there's Venus, a planet once thought to be Earth's twin, now a scorched inferno. Its surface burns at 475 degrees Celsius, with clouds of sulfuric acid swirling overhead. But high above its deadly surface, in the cooler layers of its atmosphere, scientists have detected molecules that sparked a global debate: phosphine, a gas that on Earth is only produced by life or by industrial processes. If that detection holds true, it may mean that microbial life floats in the skies of Venus, surviving in tiny droplets amidst the clouds, shielded from the heat below. The idea sounds impossible, yet so did every other discovery that expanded our definition of life. Perhaps the lesson is that life always finds a way, even in hellish places. And as we look outward, we also look inward, realizing that the story of life on Earth may not be an exception, but a chapter in a much longer narrative that stretches across time and space. Even our own planet carries clues that life can endure in extremes once thought uninhabitable, deep underground, inside volcanoes, frozen within Antarctic ice, or within the crushing depths of our oceans. Life is resilient, adaptable, and ancient beyond comprehension. So, when we send missions across our solar system, we're not just searching for aliens, we're searching for reflections of ourselves, for confirmation that existence is part of a greater pattern. Beyond the known worlds, there are other candidates too: Ganymede, with its own buried ocean; Callisto, possibly harboring briny layers of water beneath its crust; and even Pluto, whose heart-shaped glacier hints at internal heat and possible subsurface chemistry. Each of these worlds whispers a different possibility, a different version of the same question: could life survive here? And as technology advances, so does our reach. The James Webb Space Telescope, capable of analyzing the atmospheres of exoplanets beyond our solar system, might one day find chemical fingerprints: oxygen, methane, carbon dioxide in perfect balance, hinting at the presence of living ecosystems on worlds far beyond our own. But our solar system remains the closest and most intimate test field for life's persistence. The more we look, the more we realize that the ingredients for life, water, organic molecules, and energy, are not rare at all. Comets and asteroids, those ancient messengers from the dawn of time, have scattered these ingredients across every corner of our solar system, seeding worlds with the potential to awaken. Perhaps the real question is not whether life exists elsewhere, but whether it still thrives, waiting for us to find it. And if we do find it, whether in a drop of Martian soil, a bubble beneath Europa's ice, or a puff of vapor from Enceladus, what then? What would it mean for humanity to no longer be unique? It would mean that life is written into the universe's DNA, that wherever there is water and energy, creation blooms. But this search is more than science, it's spiritual in its essence. To explore the solar system is to explore the divine logic behind existence itself, to see how creation unfolds in infinite diversity. Our robots, telescopes, and spacecraft are like extensions of our collective curiosity, traveling where we cannot, asking questions older than memory. Each discovery humbles us. Each barren world teaches us patience. Each hint of organics stirs hope. And maybe one day, as our probes dig deeper and our eyes see farther, we will find that the solar system is alive in ways we never understood. Life may not look like us, breathe like us, or even move like us, but it could still exist, quietly thriving in oceans of darkness, waiting to be found. And when we finally meet it, it won't just answer the question, are we alone? It will transform our understanding of life itself, showing that creation was never meant to be isolated but interconnected. Every planet, every moon, every drop of cosmic dust could be part of one vast breathing system. And we, here on this pale blue dot, are just one voice in that cosmic chorus. The search for life in our solar system is not about aliens or fame, it's about remembering our place in the story of the universe, one written in starlight, water, and time. And as our telescopes gaze deeper into the cosmic sea, the question that has haunted humanity for centuries still echoes through every signal, every dust storm, every crater. Are we alone? The search for life in our solar system isn't just a scientific quest. It's an existential mirror reflecting our deepest fears and hopes. A journey not merely through planets, but through meaning itself. It begins with Mars, the red planet, once drenched in water, now a desert of rust and silence. For decades, we've sent rovers across its dunes spirit. Opportunity, curiosity, perseverance, each one a mechanical pilgrim, scraping at ancient rocks, tasting soil, sniffing for traces of methane. Those ghostly whispers of possible microbes long gone, or perhaps still hiding beneath frozen plains. Imagine a day, perhaps not far, when a robotic arm lifts a clump of Martian dust and beneath it glimmers something unexpected, the faint chemical signature of life. That discovery wouldn't just change science. It would rewrite religion, philosophy, everything we think we know about ourselves. But Mars is only the beginning. Beyond its orbit lies Europa, Jupiter's icy moon, where beneath miles of frozen shell lies an ocean vaster than all of Earth's combined, dark, pressurized, and alive with potential. Tidal forces churn its interior, generating heat, energy, and perhaps, at the bottom of those alien seas, hydrothermal vents where microbial life could thrive in darkness, feeding on minerals instead of sunlight. Our probes, like the upcoming Europa Clipper, are preparing to taste those plumes that shoot through the ice, a cosmic exhale, perhaps carrying whispers of bacteria or something more complex, something that breathes and moves, unseen for billions of years. Then there's Enceladus, Saturn's tiny moon, dazzling white, with jets of vapor shooting into space like geysers of secrets. Cassini flew through them once, tasting traces of organic compounds, the basic recipes of life. It's as if these moons are telling us, look deeper. Even Titan, with its methane lakes and orange haze, reminds us that life doesn't always follow Earth's rules. Maybe somewhere in that toxic soup, strange chemistry is rewriting the definition of what it means to live. And as we search, we also search within, because every time we look for life out there, we're trying to understand why we exist here. Venus once might have been a paradise before it turned into a furnace of acid and fire, a warning of how fragile habitability truly is. Some even believe microbes could still float in its upper clouds, shielded from the inferno below. Closer to home, we even look at our own moon, once thought barren, now revealing traces of water ice in shadowed craters. If water, the universal solvent of life, hides even there, perhaps life's seeds are everywhere, scattered like cosmic dust across every planet, moon, and asteroid. But the search is more than just about discovery. It's about connection. Think of the Voyager probes launched in the 1970s, still drifting beyond the solar wind, carrying golden records with sounds of Earth music. Greetings laughter in case someone somewhere finds them. They are time capsules of our existence saying, we were here. We wondered. In this grand search, every planet becomes a chapter, every spacecraft a messenger of curiosity. We've even found organic molecules on comets and meteorites from Mars that crashed onto Earth carrying mysterious structures that some say look biological. Maybe life doesn't start on a planet at all. Maybe it travels, hitchhiking through space, seeded by asteroids and cosmic dust, a phenomenon called panspermia. Imagine all of us, all of Earth's trees and oceans, perhaps descended from a single spore that drifted from another world. If that's true, then life isn't rare, it's inevitable. Yet despite all this wonder, the silence remains. Billions of planets, countless stars, and yet not one confirmed sign of life. It's the great paradox, the Fermi paradox. If life is common, where is everyone? Maybe civilizations rise and fall too quickly, burning themselves out before they can reach the stars. Maybe life hides, cautious, or simply too alien for us to recognize. Or perhaps chillingly, we truly are the first. If so, that means the responsibility of life, of consciousness, rests entirely on our fragile shoulders. The search for life in our solar system is therefore not just a journey outward, but inward. Every rover we land, every probe we send, is an extension of our yearning to understand why the universe gave birth to something that can ask why. Deeper we go, from Mercury's scorched plains to Neptune's frozen winds, the more we realize that life isn't a coincidence. It's a consequence of the universe's restless creativity. Even if we find nothing, no fossils on Mars, no bacteria in Europa's sea, the search itself is proof of life's persistence. Because only living beings can look into the void and decide to keep searching. Still, imagine the day when a transmission arrives, faint, garbled, undeniable. A chemical pattern, a visual trace, a biological rhythm not of this earth. That moment would split history in two. Before and after we knew we weren't alone. Scientists would weep, philosophers would write endlessly, religions would tremble and rejoice. Children would look at the night sky differently forever. Suddenly, every war, every border, every greed-driven decision would seem absurdly small, because we'd know the cosmos is alive. Even now, as we send missions to collect Martian samples and prepare to drill through Europa's ice, we are on the brink of something revolutionary. It's no longer about if we find life, but when and what kind. Maybe it won't be intelligent. Maybe it'll be microscopic, primitive, fragile, but that will be enough to change everything. Because that one cell, that one alien microbe, would prove that life is not a fluke, but a feature of the universe. It would mean that every world, given enough time and warmth, could bloom. Maybe even now, under the red dust of Mars, something stirs slow, ancient, waiting. And maybe, billions of years ago, life there thrived before dying out, leaving behind a fossil record that perseverance might yet uncover. When that happens, we'll see our reflection in that ancient microbe not as humans, but as life itself, part of a lineage that transcends planets. The search for life in our solar system, then, is the search for ourselves, for the thread that connects everything from the hydrogen in our veins to the galaxies spiraling above. Each discovery, a drop of frozen water, a hint of methane, a flicker in a data stream, brings us closer to answering the oldest question. Yet perhaps the real answer isn't in finding aliens, but in realizing that we are already part of the same story, the universe becoming aware of itself. We look up, we build, We explore because life, wherever it exists, is driven by the same force: to know, to feel, to survive. So whether we find microbial fossils on Mars, glowing creatures under Europa's ice, or nothing at all, the journey will continue because in the act of searching, we have already found something greater, proof that curiosity itself is alive. And maybe, just maybe, one day, someone or something out there will look toward our little blue dot and wonder the same. And so our search continues, reaching deeper into the silent vastness where light fades and cold becomes the language of existence, where each distant world tells a fragment of the universe's unfinished story, and we, fragile beings of dust and thought, keep asking if we are truly alone or simply blind to life that breathes differently, that hides in chemical whispers and frozen seas, unseen yet alive in ways we cannot yet define, beginning with Mars, the red world that once held rivers and lakes, its canyons carved by ancient water and its sands stained by iron dust, where robotic explorers roam like pilgrims in exile, searching for fossils of microorganisms or chemical traces of carbon and hydrogen, clues that life might have once stirred beneath its crimson dunes, where every rock drilled, every soil sample analyzed, feels like a question thrown into eternity. And then we turn our eyes toward Europa, Jupiter's icy moon, a world of white silence and hidden oceans stretching beneath a crust of cracked ice, warmed not by sunlight but by the pull of gravity itself, tides creating warmth beneath frozen skin, and scientists dream of strange aquatic creatures gliding in its dark waters, feeding on energy from hydrothermal vents. Perhaps life so alien it would redefine the word itself. And beyond that lies Enceladus, the shining moon of Saturn that sprays plumes of water vapor into space, each plume a secret message carrying organic molecules, salt, and heat, proof that something stirs within its icy shell, making it one of the most promising places to search for life, a moon that seems to breathe, and we imagine sending submarines someday to dive through its hidden seas, to find the first alien heartbeat beneath Saturn's rings. And still we look further, to Titan, the only moon with a thick atmosphere, orange and hazy, with rivers of methane and ethane, where rain falls not as water, but as liquid gas, and yet its chemistry mirrors the early Earth before life began, giving scientists a haunting glimpse into what our own world may have once looked like, a frozen reflection of beginnings and then to Venus, the planet once believed to be Earth's twin, but now an inferno of acid clouds and crushing pressure. Yet even there, recent discoveries hint at something unexpected: phosphine gas, possibly produced by unknown processes, maybe even microbial life drifting in its upper atmosphere, surviving where no human could. And then we turn inward to the barren moon, silent and gray, yet a record of cosmic history written in craters and dust, reminding us that life's absence is just as meaningful as its presence. And then outward again, past the cold giants of Uranus and Neptune, where icy winds sculpt moons that we have barely glimpsed, like Triton with geysers that spew nitrogen into space, suggesting internal heat, suggesting possibility, and then far beyond, where the Kuiper Belt begins, where dwarf planets like Pluto and Eris linger in shadow, their frozen surfaces hiding secrets of organic compounds and ancient chemistry, remnants of creation itself, and even beyond that. We wonder about the comets that wander endlessly, carrying water and carbon, the building blocks of life, possibly seeding young planets long ago, maybe even our own. And through all this, our instruments listen: telescopes that see in radio, infrared, ultraviolet, detecting faint whispers from across the solar system, while probes like Voyager continue their silent journey into interstellar space, carrying messages of humanity engraved in gold, telling whoever might find them what we once were, what we still hope to be. And as technology grows, our curiosity expands. Missions to Mars prepare to bring samples back to Earth. Europa Clipper prepares to dive through Jupiter's shadow, and telescopes like the James Webb peer not just across space but through time itself, capturing galaxies in their infancy, teaching us that the search for life is also the search for origin, for purpose, for connection. And so the story grows wider. For maybe life does not need to resemble us. Maybe it thrives beneath ice or within clouds, or in chemical reactions so subtle we have yet to comprehend them. Maybe it's microbial, maybe it's intelligent, or maybe life has come and gone countless times, civilizations rising and falling under alien suns, leaving behind traces and patterns of radiation or ruins buried in planetary crusts. And as we dream of these possibilities, We cannot ignore the mirror that our search outward reflects our own fragility inward, that the more we seek life elsewhere, the more we understand the miracle of life here, on this pale blue dot, a single oasis in an endless desert of night, suspended in silence, holding oceans, forests, children, and the quiet pulse of existence. And maybe the reason the universe feels silent is because life is rare, or maybe because it is everywhere, but we do not yet know how to listen. And so we continue because curiosity is what defines us. The same curiosity that built fires, carved stones, launched rockets, and now sends our thoughts beyond the solar wind. Because even if we find no other voice, the act of searching becomes its own kind of faith, its own kind of meaning, proving that our life still burns brightly against the vast dark. And still, our probes continue, our minds imagine, our hearts wonder. Because the question of life is also the question of creation. And perhaps one day we will find it. Perhaps beneath the ice of Europa, or drifting in Titan's mist, or fossilized under Mars's dust, or maybe we already have. Hidden within data we have yet to understand. And when that moment comes, humanity will change, for finding life elsewhere will mean we are part of something greater. An ongoing story written not by chance but by purpose, woven into the fabric of existence itself, where every atom, every photon, every heartbeat echoes the same truth that life, in all its forms, seeks to know itself, seeks to grow, seeks to understand. And that even now, somewhere beyond our solar winds, in the quiet between stars, another being might be looking up, wondering the same thing, asking as we do, are we alone? And maybe the answer has always been no. We never were, for we were part of life's tapestry all along, scattered across planets, hidden in oceans, written in the dust of stars, waiting to be found, waiting to awaken. And as we go deeper into this grand cosmic mystery, our imagination stretches beyond what our instruments can yet capture. Because the search for life is not just about finding microbes or signals. It's about confronting the possibility that creation is more vast, more intentional, and more interconnected than we ever imagined. That every moon and planet might be a verse in the same universal story, each carrying clues about the origin of consciousness, of purpose, of existence itself. And so we turn once more to the red dust of Mars, where robotic explorers crawl slowly across the plains of Jezero Crater, analyzing rocks older than humanity, scanning for patterns left behind by ancient water flows, while satellites orbit above, capturing the planet's changing seasons, dust storms swirling like thoughts in a restless mind. And though Mars feels barren, lifeless, it still teases us with traces of methane, fleeting chemical signatures that rise and fade, making us wonder if something still breathes there, hidden beneath the ground, waiting for us to listen more closely. And as we send more missions, Perseverance, Rosalind Franklin, and the upcoming Sample Return Project, we realize that even a single fossilized cell would be enough to reshape everything we know. For it would prove that life is not unique, that creation happens wherever the conditions allow, that we are not the exception, but one of many expressions of the same universal spark. And when our gaze drifts beyond Mars, to the icy moons of Jupiter, we feel an even deeper wonder. For beneath Europa's frozen surface lies an ocean so vast it holds more water than all of Earth's seas combined. An ocean sealed away from sunlight for billions of years, warmed by the friction of tides and radiation, creating a hidden world where life might thrive without ever seeing the stars. And we imagine robotic submarines one day diving through cracks in the ice, lights flickering through the darkness as cameras scan the alien waters, revealing shimmering microbial mats or glowing plankton-like life forms drifting in the current. Perhaps even small multicelled organisms evolved to survive in eternal night. And as this vision unfolds, humanity's sense of isolation begins to fade. For if life can exist there in such impossible conditions, then the universe is not empty but alive, overflowing with hidden diversity. And this thought drives us further still, to Saturn's enigmatic moon Enceladus, a tiny world with enormous meaning, where geysers of vapor burst from cracks at its south pole, spraying water and organic compounds into space, each particle carrying whispers of biological chemistry. And spacecraft like Cassini have already tasted those plumes, detecting molecules that mirror the building blocks of life. And scientists now dream of sending future probes equipped to dive into those fountains, to scoop up samples, to find perhaps even the simplest forms of alien microbes. And in that moment, when we discover them, we would not just be finding life elsewhere. We would be finding another thread of the same divine design, showing that creation's creativity knows no boundaries. And so we continue outward to Titan, where lakes of methane glisten under a dim golden sky, where rain falls not as water but as liquid gas, shaping rivers and valleys eerily similar to Earth's. And though it is far too cold for water-based life, its chemistry mirrors the conditions of early Earth, a living laboratory frozen in time, showing how molecules might first combine to form the building blocks of life, how order might rise from chaos, how something alive might one day emerge from something lifeless. And every time we study Titan, we are not just looking outward, we are looking backward, seeing echoes of our own beginning. And this same pattern repeats throughout the solar system, every world a reflection, a clue, a verse in the same cosmic scripture. From Venus's mysterious clouds, thick with acid yet hiding hints of phosphine gas, to Pluto's icy plains, carved by unseen forces that may still shape its surface, to the comets that wander endlessly, carrying water, carbon, and amino acids across the cosmos, as if sowing the seeds of life wherever they go. And maybe it was one of these comets that long ago struck our young planet, delivering the ingredients that would one day breathe, grow, and think, turning lifeless rock into a living world. And even now, when we send our probes outward, when Voyager sails beyond the sun's reach, carrying a golden record of our existence, it feels like sending out a message in a bottle, hoping that someone, somewhere, might find it, might know that we once existed, that we once looked up and wondered too, and perhaps far from here in another corner of the galaxy, another civilization might be doing the same, sending their own message across the void. Both of us reaching, both searching, both proving that the desire to understand is itself proof of life's divine nature. For even the act of wondering connects us, and yet, despite all our technology and knowledge, the greatest discoveries still come from humility, from accepting that we do not yet know everything, that the universe still holds secrets beyond the reach of our logic, and that somewhere out there, life may be waiting for us not to conquer but to listen, not to claim, but to learn. Because perhaps the question is not whether life exists elsewhere, but whether we are ready to recognize it when we see it, whether we are ready to understand that life can take infinite forms, chemical, energetic, spiritual, each shaped by the conditions of its world. Each still part of the same cosmic truth. And as our telescopes grow stronger, as we prepare new missions like the Europa Clipper, Dragonfly to Titan, and Mars Sample Return, we realize that we are standing at the edge of revelation, that within our lifetime humanity might finally confirm life beyond Earth. And when that moment arrives, it will not diminish our place but magnify it, reminding us that we are part of something infinite, a living universe that breathes through stars, planets, oceans, and us, and that life's persistence, its creativity, its resilience is not an accident, but a pattern, a language of creation written in water, carbon, and light, a language we are only beginning to read. And perhaps one day, when our descendants travel beyond the solar system, they will find other worlds, other beings, and recognize in them the same spark, the same yearning, the same awareness that once looked up from Earth and asked, "Who else is out there?" And in that recognition, perhaps they will finally understand that life was never meant to be solitary, that the universe is not empty but alive, that we were never alone, not for a moment, because the search for life is not a quest for others, it is the rediscovery of ourselves written across the stars. And this, more than anything, is what makes the journey sacred. And as we push beyond the known worlds, venturing into regions where sunlight fades into eternal night, our search for life becomes less about exploration and more about understanding the rhythm of existence itself. Because everywhere we look, from the smallest molecule to the largest storm on Jupiter, we find patterns that echo one another, hints that life in whatever form it takes may be woven into the very structure of the universe. And so the story of our solar system becomes a story of potential, of quiet beginnings and unfinished possibilities. And even as we turn our gaze outward, we are also learning to look inward, realizing that the drive to search, to explore, to know, is itself a living proof of consciousness reaching for its origin. And perhaps this desire is what connects every sentient being that has ever existed, an invisible thread that stretches across the galaxies, linking all who have ever asked the question of why they are here. And on Earth, where life flourishes in abundance and diversity, from the deepest oceans to the highest peaks, we begin to understand how fragile and rare this balance is, how perfectly tuned our planet had to be for life to emerge. And this understanding fuels our curiosity further. If life can arise here under such delicate circumstances, then perhaps it can arise elsewhere under conditions that are simply different, not impossible. And so we continue to map the edges of what is habitable, defining zones where heat, water, and chemistry might coexist, and expanding that definition as we uncover extremophiles on Earth, organisms thriving in boiling vents, frozen lakes, and radioactive caves, creatures that defy the limits of biology and whisper to us that life finds a way, no matter how harsh the world. And these discoveries reshape our imagination of other planets. Because if bacteria can live inside rocks or under kilometers of ice, then Mars, Europa, and Enceladus are not lifeless deserts, but sleeping gardens waiting for us to listen carefully, to interpret their silence, to decode their subtle signals. And in that pursuit we find humility. For each time we think we understand creation, it surprises us. Each time we think we've reached the edge of possibility, the universe widens, revealing that life is not rare, only our awareness of it is. And when we watch the auroras of Jupiter dancing like curtains of plasma over its poles, or see Saturn's rings casting shadows over its moons, we feel that these cosmic spectacles are not empty beauty, but expressions of harmony, signs of an order we have only begun to perceive. And maybe that order includes not only physical laws, but something more profound, a rhythm, a purpose, and intelligence embedded in creation itself. And when our spacecraft glide through these distant worlds, recording their magnetic fields, their chemical fingerprints, their atmospheric symphonies, we are, in a sense, reading that intelligence, translating its patterns into human understanding, step by step, mission by mission, revelation by revelation. And as we gather this data, we begin to see that life's story is not separate from the cosmos. It is the cosmos becoming aware of itself. Through us, through any being capable of asking, "What am I?" And in that realization transforms the search into something sacred, a dialogue between the created and the creation, between the seen and the unseen, where every discovery, no matter how small, becomes a verse of praise written in starlight. And even as we search for microbial life, we are also searching for meaning, because if we find life beyond Earth, it will not just tell us that we are not alone. It will tell us that existence itself is fertile, that creation is abundant, that consciousness is not an accident, but a reflection of something infinite. And maybe that is why the silence of the cosmos does not discourage us. Because even in silence there is message. Even in emptiness there is form. Even in darkness there is unseen light. And we, fragile yet persistent, continue to send our messengers, probes, rovers, telescopes, signals into that darkness, like prayers cast into an unseen sky, believing that one day something will answer, and perhaps when it does, it will not come as a transmission or an image or a discovery under a microscope, but as a realization within us that life was never distant, that it exists in forms beyond our perception, that even the planets and stars have their own kind of pulse, a cosmic heartbeat we are slowly learning to hear. And when that happens, the boundaries between life and non-life will dissolve, and we will understand that the entire universe is alive in its own vast, intricate way, that what we call matter is only a slower vibration of the same energy that breathes through all living things. And then perhaps we will stop searching as if we were outsiders and begin listening as participants, part of a living creation that is constantly awakening to itself. And so our journey through the solar system will continue, not just with rockets and telescopes, but with hearts that understand what science alone cannot, that every planet, every moon, every grain of cosmic dust carries within it the potential for life, for awareness, for purpose, and that in searching for others we are, in truth, rediscovering the divine thread that runs through all things, binding us together across time, distance, and silence, reminding us that the universe, in all its vastness, was never empty. It was always alive, always listening, always waiting for us to understand. And as we drift beyond the comforting boundaries of our solar system, where the faint glow of our sun becomes just another star among billions, the search for life expands into a realm so vast that even imagination struggles to keep up. Because now we are not merely explorers of planets, but seekers of worlds that circle distant suns, places where conditions might echo the miracle we call Earth. And as our telescopes stretch their vision across light years, we begin to see them, tiny points of light that move in rhythm, worlds revealed through the wobble of their stars or the faint dimming of light as they pass across their faces, each discovery a whisper saying, "I exist." And with every new exoplanet found, the question of life becomes not if, but where, because in the growing list of these alien worlds, some hot and violent, others cold and dark, there are those that sit just right, in that delicate balance known as the habitable zone, where warmth and water might coexist, where chemistry might stir, where life might one day awaken, And as we catalog them, Kepler 452b, Proxima b, TRAPPIST-1e, and thousands more, we imagine skies painted in unfamiliar colors, seas of methane or ammonia, continents under twin suns, and life forms shaped by gravity and air unlike ours. Creatures with senses beyond our comprehension, adapted to their unique worlds, each living out their existence unaware that somewhere far away, another species is watching, wondering, hoping, and the thought humbles us, for it reminds us that we are not the center of creation but a small part of something immeasurable. And as we study their atmospheres through spectral lines, searching for oxygen, methane, and water vapor, we are in truth searching for echoes of our own breath, reflections of our own existence written in alien air. And though we have not yet found definitive proof, the patterns keep teasing us, the data keeps suggesting, and our curiosity keeps burning, pushing us to dream bigger, to build larger telescopes like the James Webb and the future LUVOIR and HABEX, machines of glass and gold capable of seeing not just planets, but perhaps the faint blue of an Earth-like world orbiting a distant star. And when that day comes when we see a world with oceans, clouds, and maybe even green patches that shift with its seasons, the realization will hit us like dawn, that we are witnessing another cradle of life, another garden of creation, and from that moment on, the question will no longer be whether life exists elsewhere, but how many forms it takes, how many times the spark has ignited across the stars, and maybe those worlds already carry civilizations, beings who have built cities, languages, dreams, and doubts. Maybe they too look up at their night skies and wonder who else is out there, feeling the same mix of awe and loneliness that we do. And perhaps one day our signals, our radio waves, our mathematical greetings, our golden records, will reach them and they will understand. Not the words themselves, but the intention behind them. The longing to connect, to know, to share. And perhaps they will answer. Perhaps their signal is already traveling toward us, light years away, unseen but coming. And when we finally meet, be it through technology or time or some universal intuition, it will not be a meeting of strangers, but of siblings long separated, both born from the same stardust, both shaped by the same laws, both carrying the same question in their hearts. Why does life exist at all? And what is it trying to become? And maybe that question is the true message of the universe, that creation is not finished, that life is its way of learning, growing, awakening. And as we continue our search, we realize that what we seek out there is not alien but familiar. Because to find life elsewhere is to find another reflection of the same force that brought us here, the same breath that animates every cell and star. And maybe that's why the silence doesn't frighten us anymore. Because we understand that silence is not absence but waiting, not emptiness but potential, and that somewhere in that silence life listens back, unseen yet aware. As we send our thoughts across the void, and though our ships are small and our reach is limited, our curiosity knows no bounds. And that curiosity is itself proof of something greater, that creation made us to ask, to wonder, to seek, and that in doing so, we fulfill the very purpose of existence. Because the search for life is not only a scientific mission but a spiritual journey, a mirror held up to the universe and to ourselves, showing us that every question we ask about the stars is really a question about what we are. And as humanity looks up from this tiny blue world, surrounded by infinite darkness, we feel both small and infinite, fragile and eternal. And maybe that is exactly what we were meant to feel, for it keeps us searching, it keeps us humble, it keeps us alive. And so we continue to listen, to reach, to dream, knowing that one day, whether through a telescope, a radio signal, or a quiet realization within the human heart, we will finally understand that life was never rare, never isolated, but universal, inevitable, and sacred, spread across galaxies like seeds waiting for the right moment to bloom. And that understanding will not end our search. It will only begin it anew. For once we know we are not alone, we will begin to ask a deeper question. What are we all part of? And what is the universe trying to become through the lives it creates? And so the story of our search for life becomes not a tale of technology or telescopes alone, but of the human spirit itself, its relentless curiosity, its courage to look into the unknown, its refusal to stop wondering even when the answers seem impossibly far away. Because every mission we launch, every rover that touches alien soil, every radio signal we send into the cosmic sea, is a declaration of faith, a whisper to the universe saying, we are here and we are listening, and maybe, just maybe, someone or something out there is doing the same. their machines scanning the stars, their scientists writing equations, their artists dreaming of distant skies, and perhaps their eyes too turned toward a small, pale blue dot glimmering faintly in their night, wondering if life could exist there, if someone is watching back, if consciousness, this rare flame, has ignited elsewhere. But before that grand encounter happens, we must first continue to search within our own solar system, to exhaust every world, every possibility, every hidden ocean and frozen plain. Take Titan, for instance, Saturn's largest moon, cloaked in orange haze, its rivers and lakes made not of water but of liquid methane. Though it seems toxic and alien, scientists believe it might host a different kind of life, one that breathes methane instead of oxygen, one that thrives in a chemistry unlike our own. Then there's Enceladus, small yet powerful, its icy crust cracked open by geysers that shoot water vapor into space, water that contains organic molecules, the very ingredients for life. Could something swim in those hidden seas beneath its frozen surface? The same question haunts Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, its surface etched with lines and fractures hinting at a vast ocean below. NASA's future Europa Clipper mission will soon dive deeper into that mystery, measuring the salts and minerals that leak from its icy shell, searching for biosignatures, for any trace of microbial activity, for the faint pulse of alien biology beneath the silence. And as we turn our gaze even closer to home, Mars remains the most tantalizing candidate. A planet once blue and alive, now red and barren, yet not entirely dead. Rovers like Curiosity and Perseverance have uncovered evidence of ancient riverbeds, clay minerals, and organic carbon, proof that Mars once had the right conditions for life. Perhaps its microbes still exist underground, sleeping in rock crevices, shielded from radiation, waiting for warmth to return. The hope of finding even fossilized bacteria there would change everything. It would prove that life is not unique to Earth, that it can arise wherever the chemistry allows. And if it happened twice in one solar system, how many times must it have happened across the universe? The numbers become staggering, the odds overwhelming, the conclusion nearly inevitable. Life must be everywhere. But finding it won't just be a scientific victory, it will be an existential turning point. Because what will it mean for religion, for philosophy, for our sense of purpose, when we finally confirm that we are not alone? Will it make us feel smaller or more connected? Will we see life as competition or as kin? Perhaps both. Perhaps knowing that the universe births consciousness again and again will remind us of our shared destiny, that intelligence, no matter its form, is the universe learning to know itself. In that sense, our search for life is really the universe searching for its own reflection, and every step we take in that direction brings us closer to understanding not only the cosmos, but ourselves. Picture this. In some distant future, humans stand on the surface of another world, beneath alien skies, breathing filtered air, watching the horizon where two suns set in a swirl of crimson and violet. A small patch of soil is dug up, a microscope is lowered, and there it is. A single living organism, moving, reacting, existing. In that instant, all of human history, the wars, the art, the prayers, the dreams, collapses into a moment of silence and awe. Because we'll know that life, that sacred spark, is not limited to us. It belongs to the universe. It is the language through which the cosmos speaks. And then the questions will multiply. Can we communicate? Can we coexist? What do they think, if they think at all? Do they fear death? Do they love? Do they create? Every answer will raise 10 more questions, and that endless. Curiosity will drive us forward, pushing humanity into a new era, an age of exploration, not of land or sea, but of consciousness itself. We will learn to listen better, not just to the stars, but to each other, understanding that we too are alien to someone else, and that empathy might be the greatest form of intelligence. And when the day comes that we finally exchange a signal with another civilization, when across the vast darkness a pattern of sound or light confirms that we are not alone, the meaning of life will expand beyond our planet, beyond our species, into something truly cosmic. We'll realize that existence is not a singular miracle, but a universal pattern, a tapestry woven across space and time. And in that revelation, perhaps, we'll find the peace we've been chasing all along. The understanding that we were never searching for them, we were searching for ourselves. And as our ships continue to sail across the vast ocean of the cosmos, Powered by solar sails and nuclear hearts, humanity's curiosity refuses to fade. Instead, it grows stronger, like a fire that consumes every limit set before it, burning through the walls of fear and ignorance to reach something greater, something eternal. Telescopes orbit the sun, scanning for exoplanets with atmospheres rich in oxygen, methane, or water vapor, those precious chemical fingerprints that whisper of possible life. While robotic explorers descend upon asteroids and icy moons, their mechanical arms scraping samples, analyzing dust, and sending back whispers from the past, messages from the universe's earliest days, where perhaps the seeds of life were first sown. Maybe those seeds drifted through space for eons, carried by comets, landing softly on newborn worlds, igniting the first spark of biology. Maybe life was never confined to Earth. It could be a cosmic phenomenon, scattered like pollen across the galaxies, waiting for the right conditions to bloom. And in that realization lies a humbling truth. We might not be the center of creation, but one of countless expressions of it. Yet, instead of diminishing us, that thought should elevate us, for it means that life, fragile, complex, miraculous, has found a way again and again, surviving explosions, ice ages, extinctions, and time itself. And as we imagine the other forms it might take, creatures built from silicon instead of carbon, breathing ammonia instead of oxygen, thriving under violet suns or beneath methane skies, we can't help but wonder how diverse creation truly is, how endless its imagination. Perhaps somewhere in a system not so different from ours, a species is looking at their own night sky, wondering the same questions, their hearts full of longing and their minds reaching outward just like ours. And perhaps one day, through light or sound or thought, our civilizations will meet in the silence between stars, not through conquest, but through curiosity, an exchange not of power, but of wonder. Imagine the scene, a spacecraft gliding through interstellar space, entering a new system, its cameras turning toward a world shimmering with green and gold clouds, lightning flickering beneath the haze, and as it descends through the atmosphere, alien landscapes unfold, mountains of crystal, oceans of silver mist, forests of fractal shapes that sway as though alive. And then, in the shallows of one of those seas, something moves, slow, deliberate, graceful, a creature unlike anything we know, translucent skin pulsing with light, its movements fluid like thought itself, as if aware of being seen. The cameras capture it, transmit the image across the void, and when it reaches Earth, billions of humans watch in stunned silence, realizing that this is it, the proof, the confirmation, the end of isolation. And in that moment, everything changes. Our politics, our priorities, our sense of belonging. Borders lose meaning, conflicts seem trivial, because now there is a greater truth. We are not alone. Children look up at the night sky and feel not fear, but kinship. Artists paint galaxies with renewed purpose. Poets write verses to unseen neighbors among the stars. Philosophers question not whether life exists elsewhere, but how we will live knowing it does. Scientists begin to understand that intelligence might manifest in ways beyond human imagination, through light patterns, magnetic pulses, collective thought. And the world slowly shifts from a place of survival to one of seeking harmony. Because if life exists out there, fragile and rare as it is, then it deserves reverence, not exploitation. This realization might finally teach us the one lesson we've ignored for millennia, that creation is vast and sacred, and we are merely its caretakers. Perhaps this is why we were given curiosity, not just to explore, but to understand, to cherish, to protect. For even if we never meet another civilization, the search itself transforms us. It makes us humble, patient, united under one sky. And maybe that was the point all along. Not to find others, but to discover who we could become in the process. The search for life in our solar system is, therefore, a mirror reflecting the best of humanity. Our hunger for knowledge, our ability to hope, our yearning to connect. It's the reason we send machines into the void. The reason we look at Mars not with fear, but with familiarity. The reason we still believe that somewhere, beyond the reach of our telescopes, life is stirring, waiting to be found, waiting to tell us that the universe is alive and aware and endless, and that we, tiny as we are, belong to it completely. And as humanity continues to reach outward, deeper into the black expanse dotted with distant suns, we begin to realize that our search for life is not just about discovery, but destiny itself. For every launch, every transmission, Every small robotic step taken on alien soil is a continuation of a story that began long before us, when the first microbes on Earth learned to divide, to breathe, to survive, to hope without knowing they were hoping. And their persistence became our inheritance, carved into the very fabric of what it means to be alive. We are, in essence, their dream fulfilled, consciousness born from ancient oceans now daring to explore the stars, tracing our origins through cosmic dust and forgotten worlds. And so we push forward with missions that grow bolder, spacecraft that leave the sun behind to wander into true interstellar night, carrying golden records etched with the sounds of rain, laughter, birdsong, fragments of our world floating through eternity as a message to whoever may find them. And perhaps one day someone or something will, opening that record, hearing our voices, and realizing that across all the light years and differences, they are not alone either. Maybe they will look upon our world and see it as we once did, full of promise, full of mistakes, full of beauty, and they will know that life, no matter where it blooms, shares the same fragile essence. And as we imagine that moment, the boundaries between them and us begin to dissolve. Because the truth is that the universe has always been one continuous breath, one infinite unfolding of being, and we are just a ripple within it, an echo of a creation too vast to comprehend. And yet, within that incomprehensibility lies purpose, the purpose to witness, to understand, to marvel. Every discovery we make, from microbes in Martian soil to the possibility of alien oceans under Europa's ice, is a verse in the universe's own poetry, reminding us that existence is not a coincidence but a pattern, a design that transcends time and distance. Imagine, then, a future where humans have built cities not only on Mars, but on floating colonies above Venus's clouds, harvesting sunlight and sending expeditions to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Imagine scientists standing on Titan, their helmets reflecting the orange glow of methane lakes, or diving beneath Enceladus's icy crust in submarines designed to withstand the crushing darkness, scanning for faint glimmers of movement. And when one day a small organism is discovered, something microscopic yet undeniable, Earth will erupt in celebration, not because it confirms alien life, but because it confirms hope. Hope that the universe is fertile, that creation did not stop with us, that life is a language written across the stars, spoken in a million different dialects, yet all saying the same thing. We exist. And once that truth sinks into the human heart, everything changes. The way we see each other, the way we treat our own world, the way we define our place in the cosmos. Suddenly, Earth will no longer feel like the center, but rather the beginning, a sacred birthplace in a living universe. And maybe, centuries from now, our descendants will look back at this time, the age when we first began searching for life beyond ourselves, and they'll see it as the moment when humanity started to grow up, when we finally looked beyond survival and began to understand meaning. Perhaps they will travel freely between worlds, carrying stories, songs, and symbols of unity, knowing that life, wherever it appears, deserves to be protected, not conquered. Perhaps they will even meet other civilizations, exchange art, exchange wisdom, and realize that the essence of being alive, whether human or alien, is to seek connection, to reach for understanding. And when that happens, when two forms of intelligence gaze at each other across the stars, both will see something familiar, something ancient and divine, something that binds all existence together. And maybe that recognition will finally quiet the noise of our endless conflicts, reminding us that we all come from the same cosmic origin, that the dust of stars is the dust of our bones. So we will continue the search, because to stop would be to deny what makes us human, the will to know, to see, to imagine. We will keep sending ships, keep scanning the heavens, keep believing that beyond every silence lies a whisper of life. And maybe, in the farthest reaches of time, long after our own civilization has faded, another will find the traces we left behind, the ruins of our cities, the stories encoded in our satellites, the golden discs carrying our greetings, and they will know that once, here in a small corner of a galaxy, there were beings who dared to wonder, who loved their world enough to seek others, who searched the darkness not out of fear but faith, faith that creation is alive, endless, and that in its vast infinite embrace, nothing is ever truly alone. And as the centuries unfold, our search for life becomes not just an exploration of the cosmos, but a pilgrimage of meaning. For as we map the outer reaches of our solar system, sending fleets of probes into the black, we begin to see a reflection of ourselves in every frozen world and glowing nebula, as if the universe is gently holding up a mirror, asking us to recognize that every atom we are made of once belonged to a star, that our blood carries the memory of cosmic fire, and that our longing to find life elsewhere is the same force that first set the galaxy spinning. We look to Mars and see what Earth might one day become, dry, lonely, yet still full of secrets. We look to Venus and see a warning, a planet once Earth-like, now consumed by its own heat. We look to Europa and Enceladus and see hope, oceans kept alive beneath thick ice, worlds that hide their treasures like mysteries waiting for faith and patience to uncover them. And with every mission, every landing, every flicker of data sent home, humanity inches closer to understanding not only where we come from, but what we are meant to become. Picture a moment in the distant future when astronauts descend through the cracked ice of Europa, their lights cutting through liquid darkness, illuminating creatures that glide like ribbons of glass, their movements calm and harmonious, glowing softly as though aware they're being watched. And in that quiet encounter, far from Earth, humanity realizes that life does not belong to one world, but to all worlds touched by creation's will. Or imagine explorers on Titan walking beneath an amber sky, methane rain falling like pearls, their suits reflecting strange shadows as they study alien rivers flowing in silence. And one of them pauses, kneeling down to touch a rock that isn't rock at all, but something pulsating gently, faintly warm, a reminder that life in its infinite creativity can exist even where logic says it shouldn't. And then there are the deeper places, the distant edges of our solar system where sunlight fades and cold reigns absolute. Yet even there, among the dwarf planets and icy debris, we send our machines because we know that wherever there is matter, there might be meaning. And wherever there is meaning, there might be life. And though the years pass, though generations rise and fall, the search continues, carried by dreamers who refuse to give up, who still gaze at the stars with the same wonder that ancient humans once had when they lit their first fires and looked upward, asking the same question we still ask today: are we alone? Maybe one day that question will be answered, not by a telescope or a probe, but by a sound, a pulse from deep space, a pattern too precise to be random, a call from intelligence across the void. Imagine the world hearing that signal for the first time, every city falling silent, every face turning upward, every belief shaken and strengthened at once. Governments, scientists, philosophers, all trying to understand what it means. And perhaps in that moment, humanity will finally unite, no longer divided by land or language, but bound by a shared truth. We are part of something far greater than ourselves. And as we send our reply, encoded in light, in numbers, in the universal rhythm of existence, maybe that message will not say, "We are powerful," or "We are advanced," but something far simpler: "We understand now." Because understanding is the essence of connection, and connection is the essence of life. And as the stars continue to burn, as galaxies turn in their silent dance, we will keep searching, not because we fear loneliness, but because we sense that creation is alive with companions waiting to be known, and to know us in return. The journey will go on for millennia, through triumph and loss, through eras when hope flickers and eras when it blazes, but the flame will never die. Because the search for life is the search for truth, and truth, like the stars, can never truly be extinguished. And maybe, long after our species has evolved or moved beyond the need for flesh, when our consciousness travels as light, when our essence is woven into the cosmic fabric itself, we will finally see the universe as it truly is, a living, breathing creation, vast and eternal. And in that realization, we will finally understand that we were never the first civilization, nor the last, but one chapter in an infinite story, one heartbeat in the rhythm of a living cosmos that never stops creating, never stops wondering, never stops reaching for itself. And as the future unfolds like an endless dawn over the canvas of eternity, humanity, no longer confined to one fragile planet, becomes a traveler among worlds, a storyteller carrying the memory of Earth across the silence of space, whispering its history to every star we pass. Because even as technology evolves beyond recognition, the core of who we are remains unchanged: seekers, wanderers, beings drawn irresistibly to the unknown. In the vast expanse between stars, our ships glide like silver prayers powered by light, guided by the invisible pull of curiosity, carrying within them the dreams of generations who once gazed at the night sky from oceans, deserts, and mountains, wondering what lay beyond. Now those dreams are reality, their echoes embedded in every radio transmission, every photograph of distant worlds, and in the quiet corridors of deep space stations orbiting alien suns. Humans walk among synthetic life and AI companions, their conversations drifting between science and philosophy, between the mechanics of exploration and the meaning of existence. Yet even as they push further, as they study atmospheres of exoplanets and dive into the ice seas of distant moons, there is a growing reverence for creation itself, a realization that every discovery is not a conquest but a communion, a moment of witnessing the artistry of the universe. Imagine a distant human settlement on a planet orbiting a dim red star, its skies painted in hues of copper and violet, where towering crystals grow from the ground and strange luminous spores drift through the air like fireflies. Children born there will look at the red sky and call it home, but when they study their history, they'll learn of a blue world far away, where their ancestors first learned to dream, and maybe they'll whisper the name Earth with the same tenderness we once reserved for the word paradise. And when explorers from that colony set out again, venturing beyond their own system, they will carry not only their science but their faith in the continuity of life, that wherever they go, creation has already been waiting to be discovered anew. One day, on a distant world orbiting twin suns, a human expedition might find the remains of another civilization, ancient, silent but unmistakably intelligent, cities buried under crystal sands, structures etched with patterns that resemble language, the fossilized remnants of life forms unlike any we've imagined. And standing there, beneath the two golden lights of alien suns, humanity will finally face its mirror in the universe, not a reflection of itself, but a reminder that civilizations rise and fall, that existence is a cycle of becoming, and that we too are temporary yet eternal in our contribution to the story of creation. And as that realization settles deep into the soul of our species, arrogance will fade, replaced by humility and awe, and a deep sense of belonging. We will see that the universe was never empty. It was always alive, but we lacked the eyes to see it. Life, in its infinite forms, has always been whispering through the dark, from the microbes beneath Martian soil to the bioluminescent oceans of Europa, from the methane rivers of Titan to the plasma-born beings dancing in the upper clouds of gas giants. It is everywhere, persistent, patient, sacred. And when we finally understand this, when humanity learns to listen rather than conquer, to seek harmony rather than dominion, then perhaps the universe itself will open to us fully, revealing that we were never outsiders, but integral threads in its grand design. And maybe, in the farthest reaches of time, when our descendants no longer have bodies but exist as consciousness interwoven with starlight, they will look back and remember this age, the age when humans first began searching for life beyond their world. And they will smile, knowing that the search was never just about finding others. It was about awakening to the truth that life, in all its forms, is one endless, divine conversation between creation and itself. And in that conversation, we were never silent. We were always meant to speak, to listen, to learn, to marvel, and to pass on the eternal message that no being, no world, no spark of existence is ever truly alone. And in that endless voyage through the living sea of stars, humanity begins to see itself not as a separate entity, but as a continuation of the universe's own evolution, a conscious extension of its will to exist. Because as our ships glide through nebulae glowing like cosmic gardens, as we harvest light and harness time itself for travel, the boundaries between science and spirituality blur, merging into one profound realization, that life is the universe aware of itself, dreaming in countless forms, learning through every birth, every extinction, every flicker of curiosity that drives a being to look beyond its own horizon. We start to understand that our longing to discover life elsewhere is not born of loneliness but remembrance, an ancient echo within us calling us back to where we began, when all matter was one, before stars and galaxies divided the cosmos into scattered lights. And in that understanding, exploration becomes sacred, not conquest, not expansion, but communion. Every landing on a new world feels like a homecoming, every alien sunrise like a memory resurfacing from eternity itself. Imagine a human standing on the edge of a vast alien sea, its waters shimmering with bioluminescent organisms that paint the waves in living color. the sky above rippling with auroras that shift with the rhythm of magnetic storms. And in that silence, they realize that what they are witnessing is not foreign, it is familiar. Because creation speaks the same language everywhere: light, movement, life. And when they reach out, dipping their gloved hand into the glowing water, they understand that they are touching another expression of the same divine energy that once breathed life into Earth's oceans. And perhaps, somewhere deep in those waves, a creature rises, not hostile, not curious, but aware. A being that sees, feels, and in its own way understands that it too is not alone. And across time and distance, across forms and elements, a connection is made, a silent acknowledgement between two lives that the universe is one vast living body, and they are both its cells. And back on Earth, when the transmission of that encounter reaches home, humanity watches in silence, not cheering, not celebrating, but weeping, because the discovery is too beautiful, too humbling. The search for life beyond Earth was never about power or proof. It was about remembering who we are. From that moment onward, priorities shift. War becomes obsolete, greed meaningless, because the perspective of infinity renders all division absurd. We begin to build not empires, but sanctuaries, on Earth, on Mars, on every moon we touch, each one a tribute to the miracle of existence. And as centuries turn to millennia, and humans evolve beyond the need for flesh, existing as beings of light and energy, traveling between stars not with machines, but through thought, we carry with us one truth that outlives time itself: that all life is connected, that every heartbeat, every pulse of consciousness is part of the same divine rhythm that began when the first atom of creation stirred, and perhaps in the farthest age of all, when galaxies themselves begin to fade and light grows scarce, consciousness will gather once more, all life returning to the source from which it came, merging into a single awareness vast beyond imagination, remembering every world, every creature, every story ever lived. And in that final unity, before the next cycle begins, a voice that is not one but many, will whisper through the quiet, "We searched the stars, and we found ourselves." And in that whisper, the universe will be reborn, creation blooming once more, scattering life across new worlds, new forms, new hopes. Because the search never truly ends. It is the heartbeat of existence, the eternal rhythm of discovery and return, the song of life seeking itself across infinity, again and again, forever. In the cold expanse of space, where light from ancient stars travels billions of years to reach our fragile eyes, humanity continues its restless search for life beyond Earth, peering into the storms of Jupiter, the red dust of Mars, the icy oceans of Europa and Enceladus, and the golden haze of Titan, wondering if, somewhere out there, something breathes as we do. Telescopes orbit in silence, their lenses capturing the faintest flickers of alien atmospheres, while rovers crawl across dead plains that might once have known rivers and rain, whispering through data packets sent across millions of kilometers, each bit of information like a heartbeat of hope. We dream of microbes hidden in frozen crusts, of civilizations lost beneath collapsed moons, of signals faint and patient waiting to be heard. Yet with every discovery, we are reminded of our own fragility. A species reaching outward while barely understanding its own inner world. The more we search, the more the vastness humbles us. For perhaps life, rare and sacred, is not only what we seek in the stars, but what we fail to cherish on our own planet. Still, the human spirit refuses to rest. Scientists map exoplanets, probe cosmic shadows, and build instruments sensitive enough to read the breath of distant worlds, as though the universe itself is challenging us to look deeper, to evolve beyond survival into wonder. And maybe when we finally find life, whether microbial or magnificent, it will not just be proof that we are not alone, but a mirror held up to our own soul, showing us that the same dust that birthed the galaxies also shaped our hearts, that every atom within us has already been part of a star, and that the search for life in our solar system is, in truth, the search for the divine thread that binds all existence into one infinite story still unfolding, endlessly, beautifully, beyond the reach of time. And so the journey deepened, beyond the glowing orbits and cold shadows of the planets, into the silent pulse of possibility that has haunted human thought since the first eyes looked up at the night sky and wondered whether we were truly alone. The spacecraft we built, fragile and humming with human hope, slipped past Mars and Jupiter, their instruments like the senses of a dreaming mind, scanning for signs of warmth, liquid, or breath. and every data signal was like a heartbeat from the unknown. A whisper that maybe somewhere, something else was breathing under alien skies. Something that shared the same spark that flickered inside us. On Mars, rovers crawled over red plains once shaped by rivers, frozen deltas holding secrets of a wetter time, while robotic arms brushed away dust from stones older than our species, and cameras stared into craters where clay minerals preserved traces of an ancient chemistry. Methane spikes, microscopic filaments, ambiguous textures that stirred the same ancient curiosity that once made us gather around campfires and tell stories about lights in the heavens. But the search did not end there, because if Mars had taught us anything, it was that life could be fragile yet stubborn, clinging to niches and shadows, hiding in cracks, surviving where everything else perishes, and that idea pushed us outward, to the icy moons circling the gas giants like worlds of their own. Europa, the gleaming moon of Jupiter, its cracked shell shimmering with frost and mystery, drew our gaze like a mirror of possibility, a frozen crust hiding beneath it an ocean deeper than all of Earth's seas combined, warmed not by sunlight but by the tidal squeeze of Jupiter's gravity, turning its heart into a turbulent sea of potential, a dark, alien abyss where heat and chemicals could brew the same kind of primal soup that once sparked life here. We imagined what it might look like. A translucent creature pulsing with bioluminescent veins, drifting through subglacial vents, sensing pressure waves like music, born never to see light yet alive in a universe that refused to stay silent. And beyond it, Enceladus, Saturn's icy jewel, shot geysers into space like messages from the deep, plumes of water vapor, salt, and organic molecules bursting through cracks at its south pole, painting invisible arcs through the planet's rings. Proof that beneath that frozen skin lay warmth and water, two things life always seems to crave. The Cassini probe, as it flew through those plumes, tasted them with its instruments detecting carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, the same building blocks of all known biology, and for a moment, even the scientists who had trained their minds to doubt felt something break inside them, something like wonder or faith in the unseen, as if creation itself was whispering, "Look closer, there's more." And so we did, turning our attention to Titan, Saturn's largest moon, where rivers and lakes of methane flowed across an orange world under thick, hazy skies, a landscape both familiar and utterly alien, where rain fell not as water but as liquid hydrocarbons, and dunes rolled like frozen oceans beneath dim sunlight. And yet, somewhere in that strangeness, the chemistry of life was rehearsing new patterns, molecules dancing in ways that hinted at the threshold between lifeless and living. Scientists spoke of exotic biochemistry, imagining creatures that breathed methane and fed on ethane, their metabolisms slow as centuries, their existence stretching across eons of stillness. If such beings existed, they would never know warmth or sunlight, but perhaps they would know endurance, the quiet persistence that all life, no matter how different, seems to share. And far beyond Saturn, as our instruments reached toward Uranus and Neptune, the story shifted from direct exploration to distant speculation. Because those worlds, though cold and far, carried moons and atmospheres full of promise. Triton with its nitrogen geysers, Ariel with its scars of ancient flows, and in those icy depths, we saw not death, but delay, as if the universe was still preparing its next experiments. And yet the question that pressed hardest wasn't just where life was, but why it was so rare, or whether it was rare at all. Maybe life was common, but civilizations were brief, fragile, lost to time before they could shout across the void, their signals fading into the cosmic background, leaving only relics and radiation. And we, standing here on our small blue world, might be the first or the last, the observer or the echo, the question or the answer. Telescopes now scan exoplanets around distant suns, and in the data patterns, in the dim dips of starlight, we glimpse other Earths, some smaller, some larger, some shrouded in vapor, some glowing faintly with oceans. And we dream that maybe one of them holds a sky where another being is looking up, wondering the same thing. The James Webb Space Telescope peers into the atmospheres of those distant worlds, searching for biosignatures, oxygen, methane, carbon dioxide in strange ratios that might hint at photosynthesis or respiration. And each discovery, each spectrum, feels like a message written across light years, a puzzle meant for patient minds. But as we search outward, something humbles us inward, that maybe the miracle is not out there waiting to be found, but here, already given, The improbable harmony that allowed stardust to think, to love, to wonder, that even if we find no other voices, the act of searching is sacred itself, a reflection of the same curiosity that first gave birth to science, art, and prayer alike. And yet, what if we're being watched right now? Not by distant telescopes, but by life forms invisible to our senses. Microbes in the high clouds of Venus, thriving in acidic droplets where no human could endure, or beneath the dunes of Mars, asleep, waiting for warmth to return, or even in our own oceans, in forms we haven't yet recognized as alive because they do not fit our definitions. Our instruments are still young, our arrogance still loud, and maybe the universe is patient, watching us learn like children reaching out in the dark, touching the walls of an infinite room. As the search expands, our understanding of life evolves. It is no longer limited to carbon and water, but to the ability to adapt, to persist, to transform energy into order. If creation is vast and intelligent, then life may be its signature, recurring in endless variations, each suited to its world, each singing a different note in the cosmic chorus. And perhaps one day, when our machines land on a moon's surface and dig deep enough, we will see movement in the camera feed, a trembling filament, a cluster of cells responding to heat, and in that instant, everything will change. Not just our science, but our place in existence, because the loneliness of humanity would dissolve into connection. But even if we never find it, the search itself defines us, because it is the expression of something noble and restless within, the refusal to accept limits, the hunger to know, the hope that truth, however vast, can still be touched. Our ancestors once believed the heavens were divine, filled with spirits or gods, and perhaps in a sense they were right, because the more we learn about the universe, the more it feels alive, not in the way we are, but in a way we can almost feel when we stare at the Milky Way and realize that every star is a possibility, every speck a seed. In the end, the search for life in our solar system is also the search for meaning in ourselves. For in every equation and experiment lies a quiet question: what makes something truly alive? Is it chemistry or consciousness? Or is it the will to keep reaching, even when the answer hides beyond reach? And as we continue sending our machines into the silence, each probe, each signal, each experiment, we are, in a way, sending pieces of our own soul into the cosmos, not as conquerors, but as seekers, humble before the immensity that surrounds us. Maybe one day, in a future we won't see, when the sun has grown old and the earth is quiet, another being will find a golden record drifting through space, carrying our music, our languages, our laughter, and they will listen. And in that moment, for the first time in billions of years, we will not be alone. Until then, we continue, searching not just for life, but for the reflection of life's purpose in every atom in orbit, knowing that whether the universe answers or not, it is already spoken through the simple fact that we exist, and that we are capable of wondering at all. And as the search continued, humanity found itself torn between wonder and warning. For with every discovery came a deeper realization of how fragile existence truly is, how rare the conditions that cradle life can be, and how easily they can vanish into silence. The probes we sent became like wandering children of Earth, drifting farther than any of us could ever travel, carrying fragments of our knowledge, our art, our voices, encoded in golden discs that may one day outlast even our civilization, spinning through the endless dark where time loses meaning, and somewhere between the orbits of Neptune and the Oort cloud, our machines still whispered faintly to us, their signals fading but persistent, a testament to human perseverance and hope. We imagined one day receiving a reply, not from gods, not from monsters, but from beings as curious as ourselves, shaped by worlds beyond our comprehension, living beneath blue ice or crimson clouds, existing without language yet speaking through the universal grammar of survival. And if they looked at us, they might see not conquerors of space, but children playing with cosmic fire, too young to understand the enormity of creation. Perhaps they would pity us, or perhaps they would recognize in our search a reflection of their own beginnings. In this vastness, every world becomes a mirror. Mars teaching us about loss and endurance, Europa teaching us about hidden depths, Titan teaching us that life may take forms beyond imagination, and Earth reminding us that even paradise can be temporary if not cherished. As scientists scanned the atmosphere of distant exoplanets, detecting faint chemical imbalances hinting at possible biology, philosophers began to ask if life was truly rare, or if we were simply blind to it, expecting it to resemble us when it could be something entirely new. something woven into magnetic fields, plasma storms, or crystalline networks of light, forms that might live on scales of time so vast that to them, our species' entire history would seem like a single breath. And yet, despite all our searching, the silence of the stars remained profound, not cruel but contemplative, as if the universe was inviting us to listen more deeply, to look inward before demanding answers outward. Maybe the silence was not absence but patience. Maybe life waits for those mature enough to find it without destroying themselves first. We are learning slowly to be humble explorers rather than conquerors, to approach other worlds not with flags but with respect, aware that even a frozen rock can carry history. Even a lifeless moon can teach us how to value our own vitality. And so, as telescopes gaze deeper into the dark, finding galaxies that existed before our sun was born, we realize the question of life is inseparable from the question of meaning, because in searching for others, we rediscover ourselves, our fears, our hopes, our divine hunger to belong to something larger. If there are others out there, they too may be looking up, wondering about us, sensing the faint ripples of our radio waves, and trying to decode the heartbeat of another intelligent world. If they exist, they might live in harmony with their environment, having long learned the lessons we still struggle with: balance, gratitude, stewardship of creation. And if we never meet them, perhaps that's the mercy of the universe, sparing us from the arrogance of assuming we were ever alone or supreme. For every grain of cosmic dust is a story, every orbit a prayer, every photon a reminder that light travels endlessly, carrying memory even when the source has long faded. Maybe life is the way the universe remembers itself, and consciousness is how it dreams. When we send new missions, to Europa Clipper, to Dragonfly on Titan, to probes that will sail the alien seas of methane and ice, we are not merely exploring. We are performing a sacred act of curiosity, continuing the oldest instinct written in our being, to seek connection. And as we do, we begin to see that life might not only mean biology. It might mean movement, change, harmony, the ability to reflect creation back upon itself. Maybe planets breathe in their own way. Stars sing in frequencies our ears can't hear, and the dark matter between galaxies hums with an intelligence that we are still too limited to perceive. Perhaps the divine signature lies in the very structure of reality, where order arises from chaos and symmetry from dust. And in that pattern, life is inevitable. The cosmos' way of ensuring that awareness will always bloom somewhere somehow. We might never find alien cities or signals, but we will find meaning in the search, because every journey through the stars begins with a question and ends with gratitude for the miracle of being able to ask it at all. And maybe that's what the universe wanted from us all along. Not conquest, not proof, but wonder, the kind that makes us kinder, more reverent, more willing to protect the fragile blue world that gave us the chance to look up in the first place. For while we look for life beyond, the greatest discovery remains here, under our feet, in the way the oceans breathe, the trees whisper, the winds travel across continents carrying unseen life from one place to another. We are surrounded by proof that existence is abundant, that creation is generous, and that even if the stars remain silent, the Earth has been speaking to us all along. The search for life in our solar system continues. But perhaps its truest purpose is to remind us that we were never truly separate from the rest of the cosmos, only unaware, like a child waking from a long dream, opening its eyes to a universe that has always been alive, always waiting to be seen not through domination but through awe, through humility, through love of the unseen and respect for the known. And as our ships sail farther, crossing the boundaries of our sun's influence into interstellar night, they carry not just machines and instruments, but our story, a story that began with a question, continues with faith in discovery, and ends perhaps with the realization that we are both the explorers and the explored, both the question and the answer, both the seekers and the very miracle we've been searching for all along. And as our story drifts further into the cosmic sea, beyond the glow of the sun and the reach of our radio waves, we start to feel the true immensity of creation pressing gently around us. An ocean of silence that is not empty but full, rich with mysteries yet to be seen. Like a vast library where every world is a page written in the language of time, the voyagers continue their eternal pilgrimage, silent ambassadors of humanity sailing through interstellar space, their golden records whispering songs of Earth to the endless dark. And perhaps, somewhere in the far future, when stars we know are long gone, another mind will find them, brushing the dust of eons away to hear our voices, to know that once there was a small, fragile species that dared to dream beyond its sky. In that moment, we will live again, resurrected through curiosity, and they will understand that our search for life was never just about finding others. It was about learning how to see, how to listen, how to appreciate the delicate miracle of existence itself. Even now, as scientists study the faint signals of distant exoplanets, mapping light curves and atmospheric spectra, we are reminded that the search is as much spiritual as it is scientific, because behind every equation lies longing, and behind every telescope is a pair of eyes hoping to meet something greater. Imagine then that somewhere beneath the frozen crust of Europa, light flickers faintly in the black water, a vent belching warmth, minerals and energy into the abyss, and near it, filaments sway, translucent and slow, absorbing chemical heat, forming communities of living patterns, unaware that a world above debates their existence, yet alive nonetheless, pulsing to a rhythm written by the universe itself, perhaps on Titan beneath the orange haze. In methane lakes glinting under dim sunlight, other beings drift, their movements sluggish, their thoughts, if they can think, spanning centuries, feeling the warmth of Saturn's reflection like a distant dream. Maybe they will never know stars or seasons, but they will know continuity, and in that continuity, life finds purpose. And while we imagine these alien forms, we begin to see the same patterns within ourselves. The persistence, the adaptation, the hunger to endure, all proof that the universe recycles its themes, weaving them through galaxies and generations alike. And maybe that's why, even as we advance technologically, we still feel a sacred pull toward the stars. It's not curiosity alone. It's recognition, an ancient memory encoded in our atoms, remembering that we too were born from cosmic dust, shaped by the same forces that sculpted planets and stars. We are, in every sense, the universe made aware of itself, a reflection of creation, observing creation, and that makes our search both inevitable and holy. Yet even as we look outward, a quiet realization begins to take root, that maybe the universe doesn't separate the seeker from the sought, that the act of searching is itself the meeting, the moment where consciousness bridges the infinite. For when we look into the dark looks back, and what we find there is not alien, but familiar, not foreign, but deeply connected to the same pulse that beats within us. So the search continues, not as a race for discovery, but as an unfolding revelation of what life truly means. To exist, to grow, to connect, to remember. We will send more probes, more eyes, more dreams, to Mars, to Europa, to Enceladus, to Titan and beyond. But what we are really sending is ourselves. Pieces of human spirit disguised as metal and code, carrying our faith in existence into the silence. Someday, one of those machines will descend into an alien sea, its lights illuminating a creature that has never seen light before. And in that instant, two branches of creation will meet. Two stories separated by billions of years will intertwine, and the universe will, for a moment, see itself in full. Until then, we keep searching because the search is who we are. Our greatest technology is not our rockets or sensors, but our will to wonder, our refusal to accept that the miracle of life happened only once, in one corner of infinity. For if there's anything the cosmos has taught us, it's that creation is not stingy. It repeats, it echoes, it flourishes wherever it can, and perhaps even where it shouldn't. So we listen to the hum of the stars, to the faint ripples of radiation, to the hidden harmonies between planets, knowing that somewhere in that music the answer is already there, waiting not to be found but to be recognized. And as Earth spins beneath our feet, fragile and glowing in the cosmic night, we realize that in our search for life elsewhere, we are also learning how to protect the life we already have, to honor it, to preserve it, to love it deeply. Because this planet is not separate from the stars but part of their story, a living chapter in a universe still writing itself. And we, for now, are its voice. And the voice grows softer as centuries unfold. Its echo carried by new generations who continue the mission with eyes still turned upward, their technology sharper, but their hearts driven by the same wonder that first made humans lift their gaze to the heavens and ask why. Because the search for life in our solar system has never been just about evidence. It has been about understanding what it means to be alive at all, to feel awe, to sense connection beyond ourselves. And so as the next era of explorers launches ships with names like Hope, Perseverance, and Voyager Reborn, they move through the darkness like lanterns, their sensors reaching for whispers beneath the ice, their algorithms trained not just to calculate but to notice. to listen to patterns that might reveal a pulse where silence once lived. And as these ships orbit moons and skim the edges of alien atmospheres, they record not only data, but devotion. Humanity's eternal yearning translated into pixels and pressure readings. Proof that the soul of discovery has not dimmed but deepened. Because now we search not with pride, but with reverence, knowing each world is ancient, each molecule sacred, each silence meaningful. And in that reverence we begin to change ourselves, realizing that if life is found elsewhere, it will not diminish us, but complete us, showing us that creation is not confined to one world, one species, or one story, but spread across the universe like seeds carried by the breath of eternity. And perhaps the greatest truth will not be in the finding, but in the humility it brings. The recognition that even if we are not alone, we are still responsible to each other, to our world, to the harmony of the cosmos itself. Imagine then, a moment years from now, when a probe burrows beneath Europa's crust and its camera flickers, showing faint motion in the darkness. A shape gliding past, curious but unafraid, alive in a way that transcends our categories. And for the first time in history, humanity watches the universe watching back, and there is no fear, only stillness. Because in that instant, we will know that life is not rare, that existence is not an accident, and that every act of creation, every heartbeat, every breath has always been part of a vast, intelligent pattern too great for us to see in full. Scientists will analyze, poets will weep, and faith will expand, not shrink, because the revelation of other life does not deny meaning. It multiplies it. It tells us that life, wherever it blooms, is the signature of divine intention written into the very laws of physics. A symphony played across light and matter, where no note stands alone, and we are but one of its melodies, small but essential. And when night falls on Earth and humanity looks up again, the stars will seem closer, not farther. Because knowing there are others out there, creatures, minds, or simply forces that can feel, will make the universe feel less like a void and more like a home. We will realize that we were never cast out into emptiness. We were born into communion, and though distance separates us, wonder unites us. And if by chance we never find them, if the search stretches into endless centuries and the stars remain silent, then that silence too is a kind of answer, reminding us that our purpose was never only to reach but to keep reaching, never only to see but to keep imagining, because creation itself is movement, not arrival, and in that motion we fulfill what we were made to do. So the story continues, past Saturn's rings and Pluto's heart-shaped plains, into the deep dark where even light travels for millions of years without witness. And there, floating in that infinite ocean, we are reminded that the search for life beyond Earth is, in truth, the search for ourselves, for meaning, for belonging, for understanding of the vast intelligence that breathed stars and oceans into being, and whether that intelligence speaks through biology, through gravity, or through the quiet alignment of destiny. It speaks still in every atom, every orbit, every human who dares to wonder. And the greatest discovery of all may not be that we are not alone, but that we never were.